the site, the township site, and you can probably click it.
It's easier.
Yes.
We're about to start, doing work.
Okay, gotcha.
So we should be good.
Is there an extra pen in there?
Here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure there are more. All right, I'd like to call the, I can't think for myself anymore. The Franklin Township Historical Commission and Historical Architectural Review Board combined hybrid meeting to order on Tuesday, April 7th at 7:20.
You can turn off your phone, Paul.
It's working?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It had selected a device that's sitting in a box over there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, let me just. All right, you hung up on me, so that's not a
I did.
problem.
I
Yeah.
did.
I couldn't, that's why I couldn't find it to hang up on you. So anyway, for anybody who's been waiting to listen into the YouTube live stream, I apologize. We had some technical difficulties and we've ironed them out. So we're, as I said, calling this to order at 7:20. There's no member of the public here or online, so there's no public comment. And I will just note that in attendance are Sally Gallagher, Lou Mandich, Chuck Phillips, Beth Scalish, and myself, Paul Legassi. The first item on our agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes from the February meeting. Does anyone have any corrections to offer for the minutes?
They looked good to me.
Okay, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the minutes as submitted.
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
Okay, so that's a motion by Mr. Mandich, and it's seconded by Ms. Scalish. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by
Aye.
saying aye or raising your hand. Aye.
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 All right. Hearing all five of us, I realize there will be no, it's unanimous. So I'm not going to ask for. Okay. There are a couple of things that there will be some detail tonight about, but there's nothing to report on the ongoing but somewhat moribund updating of the historic resource surveys. Concerning the Church Hill African Cemetery, so about 2 weeks ago, I don't remember the exact day because I was out in Arizona. Nan and one of her usual summer helpers, 5 people associated with Yardworks, and I believe Dave Hawk, who is with the New Garden Township Historical Commission and had participated in a previous cleanup, were out there, and they did a lot. They removed nearly all the cut brush that was lying around in enormous piles. They also cut through some of the downed trees so that it's easier to walk. You don't have to hop over a cut tree. There's at least a walk path between them. Sally and I were earlier talking about it. Sally, you were out there today. You want to say anything?
It looks great. It's just so wide open and sun was coming in. It's walkable. The headstones are easily accessible. It really looks good.
Yeah. So I've let the Reverend Taylor know that it's been cleaned up. And I mentioned to her that Nan and I had discussed planting some bulbs near the various headstones, some of which are traditional gravestones and some of which are simply stone grave markers. And she thought that would be a nice idea. I just wanted to check in with her before we proceeded, since we've been acting as stewards, but it's not our cemetery as such. And so, even after flowering is done this spring, bulbs can be dug up and transplanted, and they'll just hang on and wither in place if we want to do it this spring. Or the other option is to dig up bulbs, order bulbs for the fall. I certainly don't mind shelling out for some bulbs. And I've got plenty of bloodroot that is spreading all over my flower beds. And so that would be very easy to rip out and replant and give it a somewhat more attractive look next fall. Got to be careful in when we put some of this stuff in that when we're trying to kill some of the remaining stumps, that we don't actually accidentally kill our bulbs that we just planted. But if it's bloodroot, I've got more where that came from, so I'm not too worried about that. And so if you get a chance, go out and take a look at it. Be careful. There are still plenty of residual stumps that are a tripping hazard that we have to handle. And there's definitely going to be maintenance work and more peripheral cleaning out, especially up towards the driveway. But it's a sea change. It's really heartening to see it. And Nan couldn't be here tonight, but I have no doubt that Nan is really very pleased with the way it looks. She's been deeply invested in this, and that's nice to see. So, I thanked her on email, but publicly I want to just recognize all the effort that she's put into this. Because the outcome has really been wonderful to see. And now we got to make sure it doesn't get back to the state where we have to do this all over again. Any other comments? Okay. So there's nothing to report concerning a possible cleanup at Mount Olivet Cemetery. That's potentially on the agenda in the future. With respect to the Mason-Dixon Arc Corner connectivity project, so that plan had been approved by the 4 townships, but Franklin had asked for 3 small wording changes, or maybe 4, I can't remember. And Elk had also made an addition to make it clear that, in fact, they were not obligated to pursue any of this if they did not want to, which I felt was understood, but that's fine. It doesn't really change the nature of the plan. So the fact that New Garden and London Britain approved the unedited plan, we approved the plan that was approved by the other 2 townships with small changes. And I'm not sure I don't think Elk actually approved our version. They approved the original version with their emendation. So there are actually approval of 3 different plans out there technically. And it looks like this is going to be resolved by just combining all the changes into the plan and have it reapproved by the township. That's my understanding from Eileen Parrish. I was at the Historical Commission meeting in London Britain this morning, and that's what she said. It's basically a formality. It's just, this is about keeping the county happy. And since the county is dispersing the money that's going to reimburse London Britain for the lion's share of the cost, I'm sure there will be no problem having everybody get this done. Secondly, I don't remember if I talked about this at the last meeting or not, but I had decided to pursue a coordinating committee that's sort of a successor to this plan. It's not designed to carry out anything in the plan itself, but it's designed to keep the participating townships of Elk, Franklin, New Garden, and London Britain talking on a quarterly basis with also some participation from the Greater Oxford Planning Commission Historic Preservation Subcommittee, I think is their formal name. Because they're further down on the Mason-Dixon line in Chester County. And just keep us in contact, keep us talking, share ideas about how to do things like waysides. They have some experience with that in Oxford. And London Britain is looking at redoing their informational sign, so that could become a wayside. And if they want to do that and what they're doing is in line with the plan, which as far as I know it will be, then the members of this committee might work for letters of support if they seek grant money from the other participating townships. Because if something is pursued that is generally in line with this plan, it's definitely been identified as worthy of at least partial grant funding by virtue of being in the plan. So this is just a way of working on helping all the various townships get funding for projects should they decide to go forward with them. It's not designed to drive the plan forward. I spoke with our supervisors and they were agreeable. I spoke with the London Britain Historical Commission. They were agreeable. I then spoke subsequently with the London Britain supervisors. They were agreeable, and they named Bob Clark, who's their committee chair, to serve on this coordinating committee. I spoke with New Garden Township's Historical Commission, and they were in favor of having Dave Hawk, who is their secretary, participate in this committee. And Bob and I both know Dave well because he also attends the London Britain Historical Commission meetings. And then I spoke, so it will go before the supervisors at New Garden at some point, but I'm not sure when. And then I spoke with Mary Gruber, and and she's interested. Elk does not. She's Elk's representative to the Regional Historical Preservation Subcommittee. I will be speaking with that subcommittee at the end of the month, on the 28th, I think. And at that point, I will speak with Elk supervisors just to get them on board too. I think it's important that we have not just the historical commissions, but the supervisors on board, and so that there's no unwarranted concern from the supervisors about what this committee is doing. Because there was a lot of concern about the plan in Elk when it was finally approved. So I'm very specifically want this to work for them so that we can move forward with a light touch, if you will.
So who from Franklin?
It will probably be me.
Okay. That's what I was.
Yeah, it will probably be me. I've been involved. I was heavily involved in the project, so I know what it's about. That does not mean that other people cannot attend.
Mhm.
So if you're at all interested in this, we'll send it out. It'll be a public meeting. It may be, I don't know whether we'll just base it here so that we can use the township apparatus to record it. It will be a public meeting. The public will be invited. Needless to say, other members of the various historical commissions will be invited as well. But having a representative who's going to be there, know they're going to be there, will make it easier to figure out exactly when we're going to set a meeting time and date. And I don't want this to be meeting any more than quarterly because I've got enough meetings. I don't need more meetings, any more than is necessary. I'd rather be planting bulbs at Churchill than having another meeting. So that's where that stands. I hope that we will have full participation of all the 4 townships. I don't believe there's anything. Sarah Beth is the one who's usually most in touch about the 896 road work, and I don't know if anybody else knows anything, but Sarah Beth couldn't make the meeting, so If not, we'll move on. America 250. So after in February, I talked about this as something I thought that Franklin was considering a fall festival. So I sort of discovered to my surprise that, in fact, they were not. I obviously had the misunderstanding since the previous year. In any case, we did discuss it at the supervisors meeting in February, and Nancy Widows and I are working on developing a fall festival. We made a presentation last night to the Board of Supervisors workshop meeting, and we got the nod to go ahead and do it. So we're going to get out there and contact people. It's going to be fairly low key. Some of the things that are under consideration, because nothing is final at the moment, is a plant swap and herbs booth. The possible participation of say some local high school band. It's going to be sort of child-oriented to Gregory, so there'll be a children's temporary tattoo table, and there'll be a photo booth for children with a children's bike wagon parade with patriotic theme to that. And Nancy has apparently found a relatively inexpensive Ben Franklin impersonator. I had been given information on what we might call the high-end Ben Franklin impersonators. So there are apparently some local budget Franklin impersonators. So we're going to have a Ben Franklin impersonator. We're going to have a dare to declare event, which is a public reading of the Declaration of Independence. We hope to do it so that we have a group of people reading various sections, some of it in unison, some of it read individually. Typically 10 to 12 people is how they organize these events. One of the things I would like to explore is maybe a high school drama club, because you're dealing with people who like performing in public and probably won't have anxiety and probably can read more expressively than the average person would. And so that's going to be trying to get that arranged before the schools close out the summer. And there's another possibility. There's apparently a drama teacher locally in the township who could do something like that. So that's going to need some exploration. Then we're going to have a couple of copies of the Declaration of Independence, probably printed on the plotter printer, after the event, that the audience will be invited to come up and sign. We will leave John Hancock's name on it, but take all the state reps' name off. Just for, a little bit of fun, a little bit of thought, and I think it'll have a nice feel. And then
Where is this going to be? Do you know?
it's going to be in Croston Park.
Okay.
Is there a date? Has the date?
Yeah, sorry, it will be September 12th.
Okay.
Okay, which is a Saturday. We are also, as a side, developing a memorial to veterans for Franklin Township as a permanent
Place.
yeah, but as a like I'm trying to think of what sort of as a permanent monument as part of the 250 celebration. In other words, we're doing it. We're being driven to some degree by this year and the fact that it's the 250th. And then in conjunction with this, I've been talking to Fran Barrett, who grew up in Kemblesville and now lives up at Jenner's Pond. And we have veterans information on the folks in Church Hill. We're going to pull as much veterans information as we can on people who have been associated in Franklin Township, either by living here or being buried here. And so in conjunction with the monument, which will be general and involve a blast prac on a large stone, there will be an online site that you can go to where you can see the names of the veterans with a little bit of a bio about each one. And we will invite people who visit that site to send us information about people who are not there. Because we obviously will not know everyone who has had an association with the township and has served. So that Fran's doing a lot of work on that, and I will pull in the stuff that's coming from Churchill, and I don't know how much research we may or may not need to do, and we can also flesh it out as we go along. But I'm thinking, just two sentences at most for a little bio, telling their relation to Franklin Township and when they served, and as much information as we know about, where they served, what unit, that kind of thing. Something or something.
And when is that planned to be accessible to add information?
So
Has that been decided?
so right now, I'm just pulling together bits and pieces here as text files. So if you have, I mean, anything can come into me now,
Okay,
from anybody that you want to talk about. But the idea is it would sort of go online about the same time as the our Fall Festival. And so it would become available with the dedication of the monument. And we would have a QR code or something, maybe just something simple. I don't know how it would get. It might just be on a little sign or something. We have to figure that out.
okay.
But in the meantime, yeah, we're sort of going forward with that so that we can be a little more specific and so that we can keep adding people. We're not committed to a list of names in bronze that we can't alter.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that.
So we're going to try and do maybe a Ben Franklin lookalike contest. I don't know. We talked about this a while back. I don't know how many participants we actually get, but and if we do have that, we'll let Ben Franklin himself judge it. So, and then we're going to try and do a hayride and a fire muster. Nancy's already spoken to, I think, West Grove, and they're very much interested in participating. We may do some sort of time capsule, possibly. One thought for the time capsule would actually be to take the signed copies of the Declaration of Independence and fold them up and put them inside the time capsule. That was something that Jim Johnston mentioned last night when we were talking about this.
Sounds like a good.
And it sounds like a nice idea, and it's a way to kind of, really involve everybody who was there, and have they then also get to participate in the time capsule as well as the signing. And so there are a couple other things that are oriented to children, and we're also looking to get some arts and crafts vendors as well as tables of historic interests. Sarah Beth, for example, had a table on covered bridges at the London Britain one. Jack Hill, who has written on local railroads, actually lives in Landenberg, which I didn't know. It was in Franklin.
Right.
And he has a couple books. I was working with Tim Barnikoff, who has just completed and will shortly have available a book on the history of the lands that are in the White Clay Creek Preserve. It's going to be sort of episodic, and it's not a detailed history, but aspects, farming, the original native inhabitants, the railroads, the various Mason-Dixon and Delaware Arc monuments that are in there, mills that were in the township, the proposed dam and the opposition to the dam, and then finally the actual events that led to the creation and development of the park and the preserve since they were created. So the Delaware State Park has actually expanded greatly, whereas Pennsylvania has only expanded a little. Pennsylvania's preserve was originally significantly larger than Delaware's preserve, but now Delaware's park is significantly larger than Pennsylvania's. But they have the Judge Morris estate, which is way down,
Right.
almost practically to Kirkwood Highway. So this may also, we're hoping to get the Elk Creek Watershed Association, the White Clay Creek Watershed Association, the Franklin Sportsman. There's a fly fishermen's group that's based out of London, Britain, that I think Bob Clark participates in. And Dave Porter and Scott Steele both run local museums. Dave Porter's is oriented to Chester County generally, though he's in Elkton. And then Scott Steele is in West Grove, and it's oriented to West Grove and the Avon Grove School District. And so if we could get both of them to come out, and I know Dave was at the 300th for London, Britain. So I'm hoping that some of these people who come out before will come out again. We'll see how that goes. We're going to have food vendors and maybe some, other nonprofit booths. I mean, we could talk to Christiana. They've now got a facility open at Jenner's Pond. Yeah. Jennersville, right? And so they might think it's not a bad idea to come out and have a little table. And other things like that. Lou, I've talked to you about having some antique cars there. And Bob Nackness was trying to work up a sort of larger car show, but we're going to talk to Bob if maybe he wants to see if he can get together and contribute like 5 older cars to sort of balance, not so old cars to balance out the more older cars that Lou, and I would hope if John Lawrence is available, and then we could get maybe John Lawrence Jr.'s postal truck, because that's kind of a nice one.
It is.
My phone is making a lot of noise. Oh God. I've got to take a phone call.
Okay.
So
You can just do a timeout.
yeah, let me see actually what's left. I can, it's my dad. I want to call him back. So there's nothing much to talk about, I think, in the remaining items here. Let me just make sure I've not got something floating around. Except that with respect to upcoming talks, so we are going to have a talk in May in New London about Thomas McCain, and that will be the 2nd Tuesday in May. And don't ask me to tell you what day that is on the top of my head. 3rd Tuesday in May, sorry. And then we'll have a talk on the common soldier and the revolution in September on, again, the 3rd Tuesday. And the first one will be given by David McCain, who has actually written a book on Thomas McCain. And yes, he is sort of, I think, collaterally descended from Thomas McCain. And the second one will be given by Bruce Mauday. And so it will be a nice contrast between focusing on one of the most prominent second-tier members of the Continental Congress, and Thomas McCain, and then focusing on just the average soldier in the revolution in September. So I think that's it. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so then I will close the meeting at 8:09, I guess.
No, it's
No, 11 of, yeah, right. I can't, I do this. All right, so it's
48.
7:48.
7:48, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Very good.
It's all right.
All right. All right, thank you all, and see you around, and if you get a chance, check out the Churchill Cemetery.
I will. It's
Yeah.
right down the street from me.
Yeah, yeah. So you can, the best way to access it is by going a little past the cemetery and then walking up, sort of, almost, I think, would you say you go up roughly where the, intersection itself is and then walk, back a little bit, or even a little before the intersection where the ground is lower? It's on the south side of the road.
Okay.
So.
And I kind of cross over on the edge of Clark's property and just walk on. the
Yeah,
edge
you can,
there, and then-
it's actually the Clark's property, but if you stay, hop up there, stay close to the road and then just walk up toward it.
Okay.
They haven't given us any problem about doing that.
Oh, good.
Okay. Yeah. It's because otherwise you're climbing a steep hill.
Right.
Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna shut the
Okay.
record.
Well, thank you and good luck with your dad.
Yeah.
Good night, all.